Another downside, kind of related to the others, is very similar to fertilizer. Pesticides run off too. Plants and soil can take up but so much. So if you spray it and then water your plants, or it rains, all that extra is going to run off. So very similar to what we saw with fertilizer. So here we sprayed our pesticides, but we're running a sprinkler. Well, that pesticide is just going to run off, go into the water. And then that pesticide could affect organisms in that water. So fish, amphibians, reptiles, even us. We get our drinking water from local ponds and local rivers. So incredibly important. Another way that they run off, so thinking you spray your plants, then it rains, plane flyovers. So you may have seen these before. These planes are just releasing tons and tons of pesticides. And a lot of it goes on the plants. Well, I wouldn't even say a lot, less than 10%, so barely any actually, go on these plants. Another 90% is just up here in the air. It doesn't settle. So some of it might end up settling a little bit later, but if it's windy, even a small amount of wind, that pesticide is going to go somewhere else. It might go into a neighboring field, it might go into a neighboring forest, it might go into a neighboring lake. So we don't have a lot of control over where this pesticide is going. And because of that, some of those other things can happen, affecting other types of wildlife, affecting humans, etc. I want to talk about one pesticide in particular, because it's pretty crazy what it does. It's called atrazine. And atrazine is something you can buy. It's used by farmers, but it's something you can buy. And is the second most widely used herbicide. The first one is called Roundup. So two different pesticides use Roundup and atrazine. Atrazine is the second most widely used, and I talk about it because it's an endocrine disruptor. You may have read that somewhere. You may have heard of that before because there's actually a lot of chemicals that are endocrine disruptors. Endocrines are hormones, and these specific hormones are testosterone and estrogen. So an endocrine disruptor is something that disrupts or gets in the way of endocrine hormones such as testosterone and estrogen. Well, that's a pretty important hormones in the body, whether you're an animal, like frogs in this picture, or you're a human. Like, that is not something you want to mess with. What we've been seeing is in farmland that uses atrazine, in the water near these farms, we are seeing some weird stuff happening. So in this picture of this frog has some extra legs. Testosterone and estrogen are important in the development of the body at a young age. And not just the development of like hands and legs, but also of the reproductive system. So this is the cross section of the inside of a frog. And these black lines are showing cross sections. So the scientists took a cross section and put it on the microscope. So this black line is a cross section of right here. And it's crazy what they found. At this cross section, the frog had testes. A little bit further, well, they have ovaries. And a little bit further, they had testes and an ovary. And a little bit further, they had ovaries. So in one frog, they're seeing the development of both testes and ovaries, because this atrazine is affecting those hormones. And when you're developing, those hormones really, really control, do you have ovaries or do you have testes? So it's very, very interesting. Now, these are affecting humans as well. So there are a lot of different diseases that are becoming more prevalent with children, and how their sex is not really forming. They aren't developing, ovaries. They're not developing testes. They're developing both. And it's really interesting. Although we filter our water supply, these we're not quite filtering yet. Or we're filtering, but not a lot of it. So I'm going to kind of go on a tangent. Really interesting tangent, though. Chemicals like this, like Agent Orange, DDT, atrazine, I've showed you the effects of these chemicals. But why are these chemicals allowed in the first place? Like, how do they get through the whole review process to be allowed to be used on humans or around humans or for humans? Why is that a thing? And it actually has to do with the fact that the United States is a capitalist country. So there's two different ways to approach chemical regulation. The first one is called the precautionary principle. This is not what the United States does. This is what pretty much the rest of the world does, particularly the European Union. So the precautionary principle says that companies have to prove that whatever they are making, their product that they are making, is safe. And once it has been proven that that chemical is safe, then it can be sold on the market. So that makes sense. It is safe, so it goes on the market. Okay. In America, though, that's not what we do. As a capitalist country, we don't want to regulate companies. We don't want to make it harder for them to do something. That's kind of the attitude of capitalism. So, in the American approach, regulators, so organizations like the Food and Drug Administration, organizations mainly Food and Drug is going to be the big one. There's some other smaller organizations, but it is their responsibility to make sure that a chemical isn't dangerous and it won't kill you. So for example, I am Johnson & Johnson. I'm making shampoo. And I'm like, hey, I want to sell this shampoo. And I'm going to. So they have to go to the FDA and they have to essentially say, we're going to sell this shampoo. It's the FDA's job to determine if that shampoo will kill you. And that's about the extent of what they do. The biggest thing they make sure is that if I put the shampoo on the head, will I keep my hair? Will it not burn me? Etc. Will it do anything immediately? The FDA does not test for long-term effects. The companies don't have to test it for long-term effects. They're not responsible for that. Whereas with the precautionary principle, they do. So that's a big key that I don't have written here. So they look for long-term effects. Whereas in ours, it's only short-term. So both the company and the FDA are going to make sure that, okay, this will not kill you if you use it immediately. But other than that, they don't search anything else. They don't see how it interacts with the body. They don't see how it interacts with the water supply or the ecosystem. So you don't hear these crazy stories in the European Union because they catch those chemicals before they even hit the market. Whereas here in the United States, that is not what we do. We'll let it on the market, it's fine, but if something ends up going wrong, then we'll recall it later. That's why we have so many recalls here, is because we realize, oh, actually, that's actually not that safe. It's because we didn't test it to begin with, or we didn't test it rigorously. So I'll give you guys some examples. For example, mac and cheese. So I love mac and cheese, and this breaks my heart, because I really do like it. There is a food coloring in it. It's like yellow number 6. It's actually been linked to hyperactivity in children. And in the European Union, they've banned it. They still have mac and cheese there, I think. But they've banned that food coloring in it because of this direct link to hyperactivity. We in the United States, our lawmakers, the makers of mac and cheese, they know this. They have access to that science, but they don't have to do anything about it. And the FDA, again, doesn't want to regulate business, because if you regulate business, that goes against capitalism and people get angry. BPA. You've probably bought a water bottle that says BPA free. BPA is a chemical in water bottles that leaches out of water bottles. In the European Union, it's banned. Here, companies are trying to get rid of it, mainly because we as consumers are telling them to. In a capitalist country, the consumer is the most important part of the puzzle. If the consumer demands something, if the consumer wants something, we can get something changed. But the problem is the consumers don't know enough and aren't trying to learn enough. Some of them are, but a lot of us aren't. And I'm totally accused of it. I am still going to go buy my mac and cheese. I'm not going to pay $5 for the organic mac and cheese that doesn't have that, because I'm cheap and I just want mac and cheese. But if everyone was buying that $5 organic mac and cheese and no one was buying Kraft, yeah, Kraft would start doing something, because they are driven by business. So I do want to say with the American approach, people have the power, whereas in the precautionary principle, I will say people don't even have to have the power because they're safe from the get-go. Some other examples, there used to be a flame retardant that was found in everything like pillows, curtains, couches, that has since been banned because we realized that it caused cancer. PCBs, these are found in different plastics. Lead-based paint, these are things that have been banned, but they shouldn't have been on the market to begin with. You know, lead, you guys know, is such a dangerous chemical. We had it in paint, we had it in gasoline, Flint, Michigan has it in water. So we know lead is bad, but it was allowed in paint. It was made in all paint. It was allowed in our gasoline because no one really tested it. And so this sounds scary, and honestly it is. Like, you can't trust the products you buy. Like, you have to research the products you buy, which kind of sucks. We buy tons of stuff all the time. As another like fun, really depressing fact, in the European Union, because they practice the precautionary principle, they have about 9,000 chemicals banned. So 9,000 banned. So there's 9,000 things that you cannot use in other things. You can't use these things to make shampoo. They can't use them to put them on couches. You can't use them in clothes, etc. In the United States, you know how many we have? We've got about 13. 13 things banned, including lead. Lead's banned now. It wasn't banned before, but it's banned now. Yeah, only 13 compared to 9,000. And again, that's because we're a capitalist country. We want products and we want companies to have the freedom to make whatever products they want. Now, with that being said, I do want to be fair. Of those 9,000 chemicals that are banned, some of them are things that would never be used. For example, ground up cow brains. Yeah, don't think anyone's going to use ground up cow brains. You never know, but no one's going to use them. The reason it's listed is because of mad cow disease that was prevalent in particularly England. So, like, that's like one of those 9,000. There's quite a few that are like that. But still, 9,000 things that have been vetted that either it causes harm now or will cause harm in 20 years. You cannot use these products. So I just want to make you aware of this. So thinking about those pesticides, thinking about Agent Orange and DDT, we didn't know they were bad. We didn't test to even find out if they were bad, or at least bad in the long term. So it's just really important, and I think, you know, Americans and businesses are trying to move towards the precautionary principle that they want to make safe products because we, as consumers, we're demanding that. And so we are seeing changes in regulations, particularly out in California. But it's a really interesting thing to study because it's kind of scary to think about all the things we're exposing our body to, though no one's really protecting us. The FDA, the government, they're not protecting us. Some companies are protecting us, but others just trying to make a buck. So just kind of be aware of the things that you're taking into your body.